The Erasmus Plus program has been in existence for more than 30 years, as you know, and during which more than 12 million young people have been able to spend a period abroad. But the data of the previous Erasmus Plus program shows evident disparities. For example, 73% of participants aren't participants with fewer opportunities, or 9% face financial barriers, and only 1% of the participants have disabilities. So I will introduce me. I'm Martina Marino, from the project manager of the Secretariat of ESN Spain. And with internal researching and also talking with international students with disability, we found that there are some obstacles and some barriers to do an international mobility abroad, and we wanted to talk about it in this EGM and with important speakers that I will present. So we have Laura, the EHR and Network Community Manager of ESN, Lisa, Regional Coordinator of the Nordic region of ESN. We have Camino from Fundación Once, and Ángel, President of ESN Spain. So I don't want to take time of our speakers. So please, you have some minutes to present yourself, and in particular your connection with the session topic and your perspective. We can start from Laura.
Yes, hello, and thank you for the invitation to this panel. My name is Laura. I'm, as I said, the HR Network Community Manager, and I also have a mother with a physical disability. Now, when we talk about physical disability, there's obviously a very wide range. In her case, she has a dislocation of her left foot, which results in limping. And furthermore, I also studied my master's degree with a professor who was sitting in a wheelchair. This obviously makes certain things in university life a bit more complicated. Since not everything that you're used to is so easily done. On top of this, he was not living in Frankfurt, where I studied my master. He was living in Berlin, so even before COVID, I had most of my sessions online. And then we went twice a semester to him for a whole week to actually have sessions in person. And now I talk obviously about my mom and my professor, but we can break this also down to students, that a lot of people with physical disabilities have not the opportunities as we have today to go abroad, to get the support, to know where they can go. So this is a big topic that we all can work on to promote in the future. And yes, thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Lisa, or Liz for short. As said, I'm the regional coordinator for the Northern European area, the region of ESN. I've been an ESNer. I fell in love with ESN in 2017, so it's been a few years in this network. I've been mainly in ESN Norway and ESN International, and that's my nighttime activities, and in my daytime activities I'm a biologist, and I'm finishing my degree as a parasitologist. My connection to this is I'm a student who went on exchange with chronic pain disease, which at the time I didn't know that I could get any help, but I went anyways. So I will talk a bit about my experience, how that was, and some reflections on that. And I went on exchange to Padova. And before that, I also been abroad before I got this pain disease. So I know how it was before, and I know how it was after. I have both these experiences, and they're quite different. We'll look more into it. Thank you. Come here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Camino. I came from Fundación Once. I don't know if you know Once Foundation, but it's a foundation from Spain which aims to promote lives for persons with disabilities to have a better life. In our area, we work in programs with universities and promotion of young talent people. We study the needs and create programs and initiatives to improve the number and quality of people with any disability in higher education. As a personal presentation, I am a person with hearing and physical disability. It's an honor for me to work in this organization. And I hope you find this panel interesting.
Yes, and I'm Angel. I'm the president of ESN Spain, and well, I would like to thank the amazing panelists we have today, because it's true that on the preparation of the sessions we were also kind of discussing which were like the best ways to tackle the topics we wanted to talk to you about and these things. So not to go deep into it, because Martina will be guiding the session and we'll go into it. I'm now the president of ESN Spain, and I'm leading the collaboration mainly with Fundación Once, which, as Camino already said, is an organization which works in Spain to grant access for people with disabilities to different education opportunities, international opportunities, and this year I'm leading this collaboration with them, and I want to also give you my perspective as a person, let's say, coordinating activities and working in ESN with universities and some other stakeholders on how you can also implement these activities and actions in your daily lives, activities and contact with the students.
So thank you. Before starting to ask you something, I wanted to hear something from the participants. So, with the residents. So, how many of you have developed a project or organized activity for students or young people with disabilities? Please, yeah, raise your hand. Anyone want to share the activity? Okay. Sorry, I think that we don't have the micro. But
if you want to come here?
Yeah, or if you want.
Or maybe that one works also. Let's try that. You were volunteering.
Yeah.
Okay. So I graduated 2 weeks ago, and I did a thesis about museum accessibilities for people with visually impaired disabilities, because my brother is visually impaired, and I studied how to make museums accessible for them. So I'm an architect, so both for go inside the museums and the exhibitions. And last week we did also an event for our I'm Benedict from ESN Italy, ESN Venezia. And we did this event about multi-senses tasting. We blindfolding people. Usually they say blind tasting, but after like this thesis that talk about also how to speak about disabilities, I was like, I don't want to fix the event about blind, but about use all the senses. And we divided the event in 3 phases. Like the first one, we put some sounds, and they had to like move in a room. Then we do something with nose and like tasting, and yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for the contribution. So in this session, with the help of our panelists, we will analyze the existing barriers, try to inspire you about the topic and the activities related, and best practices, and in particular, understand the role of ESN in the process of raising awareness and letting students with disabilities know about these opportunities. And also, what's the kind of support we can provide upon their arrival to our cities, and how we can work better on inclusive mobility. So the first question for the 4 panelists is, to find suitable solutions, firstly, we should analyze the obstacle to tackle. So you all come from different organizations and backgrounds. In your experience, which are the main barriers students with disability face in their academic life and before and during an international mobility? Laura, if you want to get started.
Yes, so for everyone that has a physical disability, obviously they need to get around, and we just heard architecture is a big thing about that. Actually, you cannot imagine how difficult it is for some people to walk a moving stair like an escalator. For my mom personally, it's something that she can only do with help because often they move very fast. So it's easy things, but if you then imagine that we need to go around and go to an elevator, usually they are located in a way that you walk more, you have longer distances, you need to take more time. So all this needs to be taken into account when you are in your usual student life already. But going abroad is something even more, because imagine you cannot carry 2 suitcases. How do you get to the airport? How do you get all your stuff to your location, to your destination, to your Erasmus destination? It's quite complicated, and often you need help. But at the moment there's not really like a platform where you can ask for this. Now, I mean, my mom, if she would now go on mobility, she would probably still be able to manage quite easily, because a lot of things she can do just on her own. But if you imagine someone who has needs the help of like general hygiene, of being taken around to other places, between the lessons in the university and so on, you need to find this help also abroad, or you need to bring someone with you, and that's something that we don't experience a lot. I personally have never met someone, to be honest, that does that. But it's a shame, because also for these people we should be able to give these opportunities that they can experience going abroad.
Thank you.
Yes, so I will speak mainly for on behalf of those who have invisible disabilities, so not like the clearly physical ones. So in the academic life, I think a lot of the greatest barriers is just this, not necessarily lack of information, but maybe a lack of understanding. So everyone gets tired, that's fair. Everyone will have pain in their feet every now and then. Everyone will experience something similar to those with chronic pain disorders do, but those with chronic pain disorders experience it all the time, and it's a never-ending thing. And in the academic life, I think a main challenge is like finding a way to structure your life so you can balance everything and have sufficient energy to have a good social life, for example, and these other things that are very necessary to just have a good quality of life. And it can be very isolating if you have an onset of the disease in like your mid-20s, like I did in my early 20s. It can be quite isolating because it's invisible, and it's kind of hard to find others who have the same issues and understand you, because it's, yeah, most people don't see it, so it's hard to understand it, and you will also be discouraged by people around you. And in academic life, it's can be challenging to get sufficient accommodation in your studies, for example. Not every country or every university is as understanding as my own, for example. And going on mobility, the challenges, I have spoken to other ESNers who have been on mobility with physical disabilities, and a lot of our challenges are similar in the ways that is this need of information, this need of like the support network around us. So it's for a student to go on exchange with an invisible disease as well. It's a little bit more scary because if something happens, you're not quite sure where to go. It's so having like a sufficient support network around you is very essential, and it could be very discouraging and like scary to go abroad because you don't know, okay, well, what if I get more sick? What if I can't manage my pain, for example? What do I do? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? And the lack of people around you to understand you. And it can be very exhausting, like trying to have a social life while abroad. Well, we all know that there's late nights and a lot of city walking and so on, so such like this event. And yeah, I think these are like the main barriers for it's like this, particularly this, for those with invisible disabilities or diseases, it's kind of hard to also feel that we can ask for help and feel confident that actually, yes, we could benefit from having some sort of accommodations to us.
Thank you. Camila?
In our organization, we offer mobility scholarships. So we have asked people which are the main barriers they find when they do a mobility experience. So I would like to tell you the main obstacle they told us. The first one is the physical accessibility, because as you may know, facilities may not always be adaptive for people with physical disabilities. This includes, for example, transportation means, any accommodity option they need to find, and also the destination university in the host country they will stay in the Erasmus year. Next point is about learning resources, because visual and hearing disabilities requires study materials adapted and also sometimes assistive technologies. Another important topic to discuss is the healthcare, because some people, depending on their disability, need access to medical service and always mental health support, and this means a continuity of care for those who require regular treatment or personal assistance. Also, people with hearing disabilities find communication barriers, because if it's difficult for a person with a hearing disability to communicate in their mother language, it's even more complicated to speak in a language, the language usual in the host country. Also, as my colleagues mentioned before, the lack of information is a barrier, because often the people with disability are not aware about the rights of people with disability in that country. Also, the resources available. Talking about financial aspect, and these barriers may have additional costs related to the disability, as adaptive transportations, personal assistance, or assistive technologies. Also, the cultural perception and the attitudes from the people, because we all came from different countries when we embark in an international experience, and that's make it difficult, because it differs the cultures, and this can affect social inclusion and the acceptance of the others. Also, the application process and bureaucracy, because this process is complex for everyone. It doesn't matter if you have a disability or don't, but if you have a disability, you may have specific needs, and this can be a challenge.
Thank you. Angel, please.
And yes, just complementing what the other panelists just said, as I mentioned at the beginning with the introduction, we are collaborating. We have an extensive experience collaborating with Fundación 11 on this kind of supporting mostly outgoing but also incoming students when coming to our home universities. I'm talking about Spain, but you can think about all of your home universities, okay? About how we can support the learning experience of students coming to our universities. So this already represents a big step, because I don't know how many of you organized any kind of activity where you were hosting any students with disabilities, like not a specific activity as Martina just mentioned, about the topic of disability, but did you have the chance to host any activity, I don't know, like an international dinner or something with some people with disabilities? Just raise your hand if you can. Okay, so that already represents a big step, because the most difficult part, what we also discovered, as Martina mentioned, in the process of preparing some projects and activities, is that the fact that there are students already in our universities is a big step, because they already did at least one of the most difficult parts, that is planning the experience and take the decision to go on a mobility, because there are a lot of or there is a lack of resources or disability specific resources in our universities and in general for students with disabilities. So that is why our role as a student organization is also important, because we are the ones that can make our international relations offices and our services dedicated to inclusion or disabilities in the universities aware of that. So those are one more the main challenges that Camino already mentioned. The lack of resources for accommodation, for learning resources adapted with technologies in the hosting universities. So yeah, that is why our role is very important there, and not just previous to the learning experience, but also during. There is a challenge on the social integration of these students with disabilities. I just saw like a couple, 3 hands raised when you said you were hosting, that you had international students with disabilities attending your activities. So it is important that if there are also students with disabilities in your universities, that they feel that your activities are also for them, that you take the chance to think about them, to adapt them in some way. If there's people with disabilities that you'd like to contact, for them to also like, kind of make friends to you, make friends with other international students. So that aspect also of the social integration is a barrier, and it's something we can work for as well.
Okay, thank you for the contributions. Now I would like to ask you a simple and quick question, and I would like to receive also a quick response. So, in the light of the barriers we talked about, do you think that the new Erasmus Plus programs measures, or the measures you have seen during your international mobility, or measures also implemented before and during other international mobilities for students with disability, found it a solution to tackle every barriers? Laura, if you want to start.
Yes, you said quick answer. That's a bit difficult for me because I actually live in a country now, and I'm part of an ESN country. That's not part of the Erasmus Plus program. I live in Switzerland, but something that I would say is definitely, especially for like the cooperation between then Erasmus Plus and these kind of countries, there's a lot that we can still develop. Also in terms of fundings for people that want to go abroad, how can they get like special help, things like that. So I think we came already away, but there's still a lot to do.
Thank you. Yes, so I have had a look at the new suggestions, and I highly appreciate the effort that the new program period has put into the inclusivity of people with various challenges. And I think it's a very good step in a way. We'll still have some challenges to overcome, like the information flow and so on, but particularly the preparatory visits. I'll just do like a small anecdote, but I think if I had known about this, if I had known and there was an opportunity to do a preparatory visit, I would have done so because I already did so. Before I went on exchange, I actually went to my exchange location to check it out, to get familiar, so I will be confident in going and making sure I will find accommodation that will suit my needs, and to ensure that I feel comfortable going there. And particularly this one, also the topic grants is fantastic, but particularly the preparatory visits, I would imagine, if for me as someone with invisible challenges than for someone who has very clear physical challenges, it's also a very good key to just being more comfortable and confident in where you're going. And this is what we want, right? To feel as we are capable of doing this by ourselves for the most part. Thank you.
So the new Erasmus Plus program measures are focused on providing financial support, and these are useful tools to overcome barriers related mostly on the physical environment. But if we make a step back, before I mentioned different barriers such as physical accessibility, and even if you have financial support, it doesn't change the fact that facilities are not always accessible, so that's a problem. Also, speaking about learning resources, it's a fact that if you have financial support, you can have a better access to assistive technologies, but with the actual measures, I think it's deficient because you can't cost assistive technology, like for example for hearing impairments. Also, the lack of information and guidance cannot be solved with financial support. This is the responsibility of university staff, or even it's a responsibility of everyone, because if, as you do in your countries, organizing events, we all can contribute to make accessible and inclusive events, so we can give better information for all people with disability doing the Erasmus. And also this is related with cultural perception and attitudes, because if we have a good attitude, we are open to listen the others and their specific needs. It's the way to make an Erasmus inclusive for everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, and actually, I want to recall something that Camino just said, which is, although the program measures are now focused on inclusion and accessibility, you probably know that the new Erasmus program until 2027 has four pillars. Some focused on sustainability and climate change, digital transition, active participation, but the most important one is the one about inclusion and accessibility. So it's nice because it's the first time that in this kind of programs there are, in this case, students with disabilities that felt that they were represented in the priorities of the program. But it doesn't change anything if like the people working with Erasmus Plus mobilities at the universities or in any other higher education institutions don't change like their habits or the ways they work, or they adapt the facilities and everything. And as Camino said, sometimes the funding or the financial support is not always the key. Even if there are specific funding resources for students with disabilities, because apart from the Erasmus Plus program, there are universities that give extra financial support, or there are some countries, some regions that have this funding for people coming from disadvantaged backgrounds. That is how it's called in the program. Even if this funding exists, it's sometimes not enough, because it doesn't change anything, as Camino said, about the facilities in the common universities, the learning resources. So it's good that we keep maintaining this as a priority, but what we need to do now, what we are doing also now with you, but or in this event, but also all the people working with Erasmus Plus mobilities, working or volunteering or in contact with students or in some way related to European projects or Erasmus, all of them need to be aware of these challenges, so they can build capacity, have like training events. It's not only about the people that are in contact with students, but also the people in charge of the facilities of the universities, all the academics and staff in our universities for the venues of the university where they are hosting events, talks, where they host the sessions for the incoming and outgoing students. Like these factors need to be taken into account. So yeah, although these priorities are at the table at the moment, there is still some more work to do on the ground, let's say, on my opinion.
Thank you. So now I would like to ask something to Fonse and ES in Spain, as a question connected to the institutional perspective. So how does your institution support and develop activities, and how do you support incoming and outgoing students? But also, what type of resources are available, and how can we recommend to our participants, and how can we can motivate to be multiplier of all the information of the resources, and how can they work with inclusion-related institutions in their own country, like Fonse or other institutions, if you want to tell us. If Camino, do you want to start?
So, fewer people with disability has access to higher education and skills jobs, and also this includes the mobility experience. So this is why we offer complementary scholarships to all the grants that European Commission and every country offers to a student who choose to do a mobility. This type of grant can be applied anyone who is studying in Spain, in a University of Spain, and it offers a fixed amount of 6,000 euros. This complements the other grants, as I said. Also, we work on a project because, as we mentioned before, financial support is not everything. So since 2020, we work on a Erasmus project called Uni for All. I don't know if any one of you know this project, but it offers a finder of universities, and let me tell you with the information you can find on this network. This offers everyone who is looking for a university. Okay, so you can, okay, this. Here, if you go to training, no, intellectual output, the fourth one. Yeah. In this finder, up. In universities. Yeah, here we have a blue-based group and an orange-based group. There are, I think, 64 universities who have answered a questionnaire of inclusion and diversity indicators. So here, the blue bats have answered a total complete questionnaire with all questions you can imagine according to these topics. And the other bats, the orange bats, universities who haven't got all the information required in the questionnaire offer some little information like a contact person you can contact in case you would like to do mobility in that country, but it's less complete than the other list of the blue bats. So these websites try to offer better information to cover the barrier of the lack of information. So I encourage you to use this page in case you know anyone who has a disability and is interested in doing a mobility. Also, in Orfe Foundation, sorry. Yeah, we have AISBL. Since this year, Fundación 11 is the European Centre for Accessibility, which will promote the implementation of accessibility policies in the member states of the European Union. And this project has the aim to provide an online library on accessibility. This gives links to key database on legislation, standard, accessibility documentation, assistive products and technologies, and also provide guidelines on how to implement disability policies, a community of experts, and tries to be a one-stop point for accessibility. So we are trying to work to supply all the barriers people with disability can find in their mobilities. And also, last but not least, we have an important collaboration with SN, with all of you. And here in Spain, we organize talk with them, organized by ESN. But we have the pleasure to impart these talks to encourage people with disability to embark in an international mobility, because it's a great experience. All people, we offer scholarships. At the beginning they have fear, some based on legitimate reason we mentioned before, others more in the fear of the unknown, but all people 100% of them will repeat the experience. So if you know anyone with disability, or even if you have one, I encourage you to take this mobility, because it worth it. Yeah.
Thank you, Camino.
Angel, if you want to answer the question.
Yes, I was kind of doing IT stuff also. Yes, give me a second. About the resources and things we do. There are 3 things I want to tackle, okay, with you, which is, first of all, I don't know if you know that ESN, and mostly ESN International, they have some guidelines on accessible events and these accessibility guidelines. Okay, so always keep it in mind when organizing activities. We've recently shared them with also Fundación 11, they're helping us with giving tips, like there also you'll find tips, how to organize an inclusive activity for students with physical disabilities, also for like hearing impairments or visual impairments, different things you can do in terms of finding resources already existing from ESN International, so keep them in mind. Also it's important, and that's something we also do, is keeping inclusion and accessibility as some of the main topics of our training events. You've probably been to local, regional, national, international training events where there are facilitators and experts that usually come to talk about these topics, as we have here Fundación 11 today, to share their resources, so how you can collaborate either with them if they are at the European level, or either with similar organizations in your home countries. So also take it into account. It's nice that we also have those spaces for capacity building of our volunteers in this topic. So if you organize sessions, apart from having it into account for the people attending, also keep it as something you have in your daily, let's say, communications or training activities with your volunteers, so they become more aware of this capacity building. Okay, we do. And at the end, some good practices that I would recommend is remain at the disposal of the international relations offices and services for people with disabilities and inclusion offices in your universities, because it's true that apart from the lack of disability-specific resources they don't usually communicate between themselves. Like usually the international relations office works on their own. They manage the mobilities of students, and then the inclusion office or the office for people with disabilities at the university usually works just for people enrolled at the university, but they don't kind of merge their activity also to take into account outgoing and incoming students with disabilities. So there is where ESN plays a vital role. As Camino just mentioned, something we do in Spain is with their help, we are in contact with the international relations offices and the service of disabilities of our universities, not me specifically at the ESN Spain level, but our presidents, our people responsible for social impact or social inclusion in our sections are in contact with the universities, and they organize specific talks where they bring people with disabilities so they can know what specific resources they have. Liz was mentioning before about the preparatory visits, about the additional funding they can have. It's usually a fact of lack of information. So ESN there plays a vital role because we are the nexus, in my opinion also, the nexus between the international relations offices and the services for students with disabilities in the promotion of international opportunities. So feel free to contact them. Our experience with Fundación 11 in the talks is really positive. The universities are really happy that we are doing that and that we find a space where they cannot usually reach. So if they feel we have it as a priority, they will support us in this sense. So whenever you see the period for applications for international mobilities are open, you can contact your international relations office and try to okay, why don't we do a specific talk for students with disabilities? Like universities have the contacts, and because of the enrollment document, university knows who are people with disabilities and everything, so you can easily contact them and they will be happy to attend this specific sessions for them to know how they can go or they can take some opportunities to go on with it. So if you have during the weekend also some questions for us, they will be here today, but I will be here for the whole weekend, and if not, I can give you my contact or how we organize it in Spain in the universities. Feel free to contact me, and we can share some resources also with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Angel. So, for Lara and Liz, from your perspective, so in your opinion, how can we recommend to the public and motivate our participants to be multiplier of the information and promote international mobility opportunities? And how can they work with inclusion-related institutions in their own countries and with international students? But also feel free to add something to what Angel and Camino said. So if you want to share also best practices from your local sections, or also from ESN International, as you belong to some structures, so feel free. Laura, if you want to start.
Yes. Well, I mean, we heard already disability is a very wide range, and there can be visible disability but also invisible disability. So obviously it's very different on what each person needs as support and what we can give and how we can provide this as well. So there is the platform called Inclusive Mobility. It's actually a platform that the university should fill out to give the information on where people with a disability that need help can go first. So who are the main responsible in each university? What are the structures? What barriers do they have? And so on and so on. So all of you can be a multiplier by bringing this back to your home country, back to your city, go to your university, tell them about this, tell them that they should please fill it out. It's very important. There's also a lot of documents on this platform, and you see it's also a European platform about inclusion and support services. So if we promote this, it will help in the long term a lot of people that want to go on mobility, that want to make a difference, and that we can increase the number of people that are actually have the opportunities.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. So my fellow panelists have sketched out quite a lot of good resources and information about the different initiatives from the European Union and so on, and for the Erasmus program in particular. So I will steer it in a little bit different direction. So as I mentioned, I have been on mobility before to the US, where I moved to a new country without much resources or help, because I didn't really need anything, because I didn't have any symptoms or any issues at this point. I came home to Norway, and then I decided to start university, and I knew already then that the international way of life is something I loved. I fell in love with the ESN, and I was like, I need to go on exchange. And then, after I had made this decision, the onset of symptoms started. And for me, I kind of wonder, like, what if I hadn't been on a mobility before? Would I be able to really go somewhere, like, trust in myself that actually this will be fine, I will manage? I'm not so sure. So then I can only imagine how it's like for those who have had these challenges throughout their life and trying to figure out if they can or cannot go on mobility. For me, ESN was very much a key. So the family we're part of in ESN, I was already active locally, and I knew this organization, and a majority of your ESNers, you know this feeling of family unity and how we strive every day to make, to help students helping students. And within students helping students is every student. We want to help every student around us. And this for me meant that if I go, ESN Padua would be there for me if shit really hit the fan and I just needed help. I knew that the family would be there, although I didn't know who they were. And this kind of support is very unique in my experience. I think it's very, very unique that we have this. And this is my point, is that you have a lot of power to change someone's perception, someone's opportunity to go on exchange. We work on welcoming students with disabilities and challenges in our own universities and showcasing that we are able to do this, accommodate for them and help them. We're the best ones to do so, in my opinion, because we're the ones who get in touch with the international students the most of all the organizations on our campuses. When we show that we can do this, this also means that the students who have challenges in our own universities see that they will probably face the same sort of welcoming when they go abroad. And this is what is so beautiful for me. So for me, ESN was this circle of social life that would be there for me, help me if I needed it, even if I had to go away for a little time to have a break, to recharge and everything. But it was just so comforting knowing that there's some strangers out there who will help me if I need it. So this is my pledge to you to really look into these resources, take it seriously. If you map out your universities, use these resources, talk to your IRO, make sure your campus is accessible, is welcoming to every student, then you will most likely partake in making it possible for someone to come to your university. And changing one life is, I think it's very good. Changing many lives, even better. So please do not doubt that you have the power to make these changes. And I think we are the best to make these changes.
Thank you, Lisa.
Now we have time for some questions from the participants. So please, if you have a question, you can raise your hands and you can stand up and ask the question. Any question? So you can break the ice.
Okay, so
If you can talk loud.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I had one question, but then there was this thing about the 64 university that replied to us. The one question was if there was like an idea of asking to the university to reply to a survey, so it's good to know that someone replied. And the other thing is, have you ever think about doing a platform for disability people to share their experience in the university, like every student, not just Erasmus student, to make known to the other people with disability if there are universities that are accessible, how they are experience their experience in the university, etc. It's like, for example, in Italy we have this platform that is Erasmus, so we have like we share our experience for our hosted university. So
It's for everyone, the question, or for one
Yes.
panelist? Okay, for everyone. So we understand.
Thank you for your proposal. We already have one platform for everyone who asks our organization for a scholarship, not only for mobility scholarship, because as we study all the needs they could have in higher education, we have made a network where they can share their experience. I think this is very useful because they encourage each other, and it's a very good idea to make this extensive in specified mobility experience, because this will encourage everyone, and this will result the great experience of the mobility experience. So I will propose your idea in my team. So thank you. And the first question, do you have any question related to the Uni for All network about the contact person of the university? I don't know if I understand you well.
just like for university or not so much, so like
Very 16 for universities are not so much. If you sí, sí, no por I think that was more say because in 16
okay. Yeah, so we have this Erasmus project, and we make this questionnaire. All the universities from Europe receive this questionnaire, and not all of them has the pleasure of answer because it's a complex question to complete the whole questionnaire. But some of them give us some information which has a reflect in this page. But they are working. This has not stopped. This continues. So we would like to improve this network, also including ESN in this project. So I think even if you don't find a lot of information about the university you are interested of, you can contact to the contact person. If you want, we can make an example. For example, Blue Wage, yeah, any university, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Here, you can contact this person if you don't find the information you need. And I think only for this, it's worth all the work made in the network, because it's better this than nothing.
And Laura and Liz wants to start. Laura? Okay.
Yes, so if you would go back to the inclusive mobility platform, please. There's also a part of testimonials. It's video platform. It's this one, please. It's video, little videos, and it's about, like, you see the first person is a BH student, whereas the second one is a PhD student. So it's not just exclusively to Erasmus, but as well, if you would go to the second page, please. There is one video of Alvaro. Alvaro was the first person who went on Erasmus with disabilities. Now, you have to know that there was a previous project called MAP. So he went on Erasmus with MAP. Inclusive mobility is the kind of new program and new website that that followed. But they still have his testimonial there too. So it's also a little video that you can watch and see how it was for him. If you would press on his name, you see there a little statement that says, "I believe that nobody was really prepared for it. Since all my life I had been trained by my parents to face challenges. I tried to find solutions for the problems, and that's what I did. I think that now things have improved a lot." I think it's a very great statement to see how from MAP to inclusive mobility how far we have come, but there's also a long way to still go.
Please.
Yes, so absolutely agree with what's been said. It's a great initiative, and this also kind of highlights how we already have a lot of really good resources, but we could, as our network, could be much better at just promoting it, and not only promoting it as its own thing, but try to include it generally in everything we do, right? Inclusivity. It's to not only think about accommodation for disabilities as something to be separated from everything else. It would be nice to have it immersed into what we do instead of having it as an afterthought. So it would be very, very good if we take the resources we have, because there's really a lot of good resources, and they only can get better if we actually take the step to involve ourselves in them and utilize them and showcase them. If not, the testimonials like these are not going to be showcased if we don't actually promote them properly. So that would be like my thing, like, let's try to immerse it into everything we do instead of thinking of it as a separate thing, because everyone wants to be included, and not despite a disability, but even with a disability.
Thank you. And I wanted to add also that we have to have also an open-minded attitude, so we not only think about international mobility for studying abroad, but all the international mobility. I remember that one day in one conference, a guy told us his experience with the Discovery EU program. So he went on a Discovery EU program. He was a guy with disability, and he explained it, and it was very interesting. So you have to think about all the opportunities, but also try to gather information on all the international mobility opportunities from also the perspective from for people with disabilities. So, do we have other questions?
Hi everyone, please tell me if you can't hear properly. I'm Camille from AISBL International, and thank you everybody for your input. It's really interesting. When I went into this session, I was really in a more case-by-case approach, because from my experience it was always towards somebody that came to me during an AISBL event and we had to deal with it on the spot. I have a very important thought from Jean-Sébastien, who's from AISBL France. I don't think he attended, but last year he was at EGM. He also has a physical disability, and it was a whole thing to make it inclusive. And I had maybe one more question into this case-by-case approach. Do you know if it exists any training? Because I know it's very important from the home institution of the mobility towards the upcoming one, because usually the person with the disability already beneficiates from something from the universities, but doesn't know if it could have dependent in the welcoming. And I think it would be important, and I don't know if it's something that exists, some kind of training providing to the institutions themselves to make this bridge, make this connection between something that can already exist in a uni and doesn't exist in other uni. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sí, algunos conocen para las dos universidades de destino y de envío, cómo se comunica la cancelación, al final una promoción. So, is it okay for you the question? Want to start?
Thank you for the question. I think it's a very important question. Now we have to think about the fact that we have a lot of different countries that you can go on abroad, but most of the universities have already some kind of disabilities also with the local students. So I believe that most countries do these trainings, but it's not connected to each other. So how the trainings are facilitated, how good they are, how well known the people are about certain disabilities might vary a lot. So what we definitely can improve in the future is to build these connections and to kind of showcase best practices within university life and within the IRUS and other offices that are responsible for the people that and students that come with disabilities, I would say.
So that's a very good question, because I agree with my colleagues, but also I think it's important the training for the university staff and also for the teacher of the university. So in this Erasmus project, the first page here in the third one, program and content of training course, this offers a total guide for training for trainers in university. So it's useful for organizing training to this professional. So university can use this tool to prepare this event. Yeah. Thank you.
Do you want to add something?
Is it okay for you? Okay. Do you have any other question? Okay. Who was first?
Let's go.
Okay.
Hi, so I'm Emily from ESN Switzerland, and I had a more specific question just to see how it works in practice. In Switzerland, obviously, we have a lot of hikes, we organize a lot of events that are naturally not very accessible, and we've been confronted to the situations before where it was more on the spot, we realized that some things weren't as suitable as they should have been. And I was just wondering, what would it look like in practice to make events like those more accessible in terms of trips, in terms of moments where there's a lot of walking, where the paths can be quite narrow. So I'm just wondering if you have any tips and tricks on that for us as well to organize events that are more accessible.
If there's some tips to accessible events, viajes, muy prácticos como
If you want to start,
Yes.
Flora.
Yes, I mean Switzerland is very famous for the beautiful countryside, and hikes is one of the main things that we do. Obviously, especially when it comes to hikes, it's very, very difficult. I would not go with my mom on a hike, to be honest. But there are other possibilities. Actually, for the 50 years wedding anniversary for my parents, we gave them a trip up to Pilatus. Pilatus is the main mountain in Lucerne, very famous. If you ever come, please visit it. And and what we did is that we did the way all the up with the cable car, but it was such an amazing moment for my mom to be up on a mountain of 3,000 meters, just to be on top of it, not even hiking it up. I mean, yes, that's also a great experience, but just being there was a really great experience for herself. And I think we have cable cars, so we can make it accessible in this way. But obviously, it's not the same. So we always have to think also about the fact, when do we need to do something, make something, when do we need to make something accessible and when not. Changing all the heights will not be the solution, but offering the possibility that people can still join and do partly things with the cable car or the whole trip, but still at the top meet the rest or something like that, could be definitely an opportunity. And obviously, if you see at the beginning, I mean, a lot of us do welcome weeks where usually the events are more accessible, and if you see someone, just approach them, talk about it with them. Say, hey, what kind of events do you want to attend? How can we help you to make them more accessible? How can you help us to gain the knowledge to implement it? So just talk with the people.
Thank you. Do you want to add something? So this goes a little bit along preparedness as well, I guess, but I think a very key thing is to have very clear communication about what does this hike entail. So I'm from Norway, so I'm also from a very mountainous country, and we also hike a lot. And we do have experts in tourism who work with people who have disabilities, like universal design, making tourism more accessible in Norway. And in this case, like for my own country, I would recommend them to get in touch with those who know what they're talking about. I'm in Switzerland, I'm pretty sure there's other organizations who work with making these things accessible for those with disabilities. And then crossing over to more like my field, the invisible disabilities, just like this clear communication about what does it entail, how is it going to go about, where are we going, and what considerations should you do before joining this trip. I think this like clear communication will make it possible also for those who want to join to make an informed choice, and as well as I try to gain some insight on what they would like to do. But there's like in Norway, you can go hiking for the Northern Lights, but with a scooter, and there's ways to make this accessible, or go skiing, but we have like the ski that you can sit in, for example. So it's it's possible to make it accessible, but I would say, from like my point of view, talk to those, like search out those who are experts on this, because most likely you have some experts around, you just haven't sought them out yet, and they most probably will be able to provide you with some good guidance.
Thank you.
You want to add something? Camino, because
I think as a expert and as a person with disability, that the best way to anticipate to any problem is to ask before the person who are attending the event, as my partner says. Also, to avoid the lack of information, it's important to give all the details as you can before the event. For example, if you are taking a bus, you can point if there is accessible seats for wheelchairs, for example, or if you are going to do a sport activity, you can give the details as well if there is an adapted sport or not. So that fixes everything. Yeah, asking the person.
Thank you. Angel?
Yeah, I just wanted to share something like really quick, because when I first joined my ESN section in Granada, here also in southern Spain, one of the first trips I had, we had a guy coming with us with a physical disability. So then it wasn't, as you mentioned, or some other people also mentioned here, that we didn't realize until we were like, on the spot, in the activity. But it was nice because it's not, it's sometimes unlucky, but they know these things can happen, and they are open to talk about it. If we go and ask, like, hey, we see maybe we can have an alternative route. Like, how didn't you find the proper information of this activity? Like, should we provide more details on the duration of the route, or how are if it's pretty steep, or if it's really, what is the information we can provide previous, so all the participants are informed of this. So, as Camino said, it was just talking to him, and it was nice that he understood that we were interested in his good experience, let's say, in the activities. But it's what I realized at that moment as well is that we couldn't be like parenting them, like they are the responsibles at the end of their own experience, of their own social engagement in the universities, how they want to socialize with their friends, But it's nice that they have a contact point, at least an organization that they know they're interested in okay, they need something, they're there to help. But also keep that in mind, like not parenting them in that sense. And then something really quick, about the details of the activities and stuff. You can usually ask also the universities for specific spaces, like, hey, we did this last activity like this, we had this situation, we have, just also to inform you, we have students with disabilities coming to our activities, like, is there any way you can support us in giving us a space, or they know a lot about the university spaces, resources they have. So it's also about trying to find different ways.
Thank you. So we have time for the last question. So, sorry, there was the guy before.
It's a really quick question.
Okay.
The first one is, can you share all the documents with us on the list of the documents that you shared and references?
Yes, I guess at the end there's a harvesting part, and we'll figure something out. Yeah.
And about the workshop that you showed, the training for trainers, the workshop for trainers, do you know if there is some TSO training session that we can use at the local level to talk about this to our volunteers and to bring those subjects to our volunteers?
Yeah, I guess you're talking about ESN specific resources on
Yeah.
TCOs, right?
Yeah,
or
is it
other
specific or some that we can use?
or something. Okay, we can, because I think we have to get like deep into these resources that Camino just showed us on these trainers, guides, and these kind of things. But there are usually, at least in Spain, we have some of them because we've delivered sessions together about activities for people with disabilities, how we can be multipliers of this information. And even if it's not in English, because we've done some of them in Spain, we can find a way also through Laura and the HR network and the activities training community to share it to the participants, translate any resources we can have. So
Okay. We want to add something?
I think.
We have time for the last
Yes.
question. If you yeah.
So hi everyone, I am from Lithuania. So basically I'm from Lithuania Sports University. So I'm just curious, is it how like different universities, they have subjects as for disabilities people? We have in our university as a subject, and we will probably have masters if we pick for disabilities people. So basically, is it if you have the subject that they can do the sport? We have like basketball in the wheelchairs. So did you have in your university if you have like sports faculty? It's just a question if you thinking to have those kind of subjects to interact all the students, not just the ones who already have disabilities and they doing the sport, but the ones who's not having disabilities, but they can understand how the sport is like happens. So I'm just curious. Thank you.
I don't know if you want to answer.
Well, I personally don't have experience with it, but I assume that, for example, in Germany, in Cologne, you have the main sports university of Germany, and that they would have something like that. But I think it's with everything that you study. For example, I studied music education, but not as a teacher in my bachelor degree. Finding that somewhere outside of my university was very hard. So I went on my Erasmus to Palermo in Italy, and I studied 3 subjects to kind of have all my courses that I needed to take covered. And this will most likely happen as well. But I believe that there are ways, and maybe the amount of universities that you can go to are not as high as for other people, but there are definitely universities that also would cover that, especially, I mean, this is a very specific sport or question regarding sports, but I believe that sport universities should cover this actually. Yes.
You want to add something? So the session is going to a conclusion, and I wanted to wrap up something that we already said. So to tackle the existing barriers, we talk about work from different levels, such as institutions, universities, association, in particular for the trainings, and work also on the communication between university, but also external communication to inform people about existing opportunities for people with disability. But also we talk about tools to be informed on international mobility for people with disability and the accessibility of the different universities, and also tools to on how to promote accessible opportunities. We talk about also the importance of collaboration with university and other institutions and association, as ESN, but also Fundación ONCE collaborate in a very good way with the university, also through European projects. And yes, and also the importance of the role of ESN for the social integration in the city of destination. So we wanted to encourage you to reflect about it, to think about it, and on how to integrate people with disability when they come to your city, when they don't know your city, and try that they can have the best Erasmus experience, best international experience in your own country. So I wanted to thank the speakers for the interesting and impactful contributions and also the different perspectives you gave us. And thank you the participants for coming and to inform you also on how to promote accessible opportunities. I wanted to remind you to scan the QR code. I forgot it on the start of the session. And that's all. Thank you to participate.